Hey, welcome back to the Getting to This Place podcast with Reeya Banerjee and Luke Folger. We're talking about Reeya's album, This Place, coming very soon. Maybe by the time you've seen this, it'll already be out and you'll be watching it in retroactively. I don't know. The album is an interesting chronicle of Reeya's life, from childhood experiences that shaped her. And we come to the next song. Episode 5 here is called Misery of Place. Love this title, and I want to go right to Luke on this one and just ask about the phrase "misery of place."
Oh, good. Okay, I'm glad you did. So this Reeya and I were talking about what this record is going to be about, and we decided on this sort of concept album of locations. And we're like, what if each song is a different location? And she had told me that she had a friend who used this term, like, she could probably tell the story better, but it was like, are you miserable with a place or are you miserable with yourself? And I loved, like, that just set me off. Like, I was thinking about it for like a week afterwards. I was like, if you're feeling miserable, sure, you can blame your surroundings or your situation in life, or you can, take a look within and wonder, like, am I making this reality for myself? And this song is actually not a specific location, even though it does take place. It has some sort of anecdotes about different people, but this is sort of like a title track almost. Like it covers the big concept in the whole album of like the relationship between a place and your feelings, because the place does affect your well-being and your identity. That's a really exciting tension for me, and it was fun to dedicate a whole song just to that concept.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Reeya, there's a line, it's a shame to see you holding to the thought that a brand new beginning would magically erase misery of place. This seems to play right into what Luke's talking about. And it also seems to follow the general trajectory of this record, where you're kind of, I don't want to say stumbling through your life, but you're finding your way through your life with these various challenges and you're overcoming them. And a brand new beginning would magically erase this. What talk about the difference between the hope and the expectation versus the reality.
Yeah. Going back to what Luke said briefly, I kind of think of this song as maybe like the thesis statement for the whole record. Just to briefly get into the backstory of that phrase. Many years ago, I had a friend who was, it was like her first semester of college, lifelong San Franciscan, which is very rare. A born and raised San Franciscan is as rare as a born and raised New Yorker. And she had relocated to the East Coast for college. She just wasn't feeling it. She was just like, oh, it's cold, it's damp, I don't really care for this. And she was close to one of our high school teachers. She kind of emailed him, saying, hey, maybe a pep talk, maybe, like, am I being dramatic? And he replied with something like, you might want to consider whether what you're experiencing right now is misery of place or profound lifelong misery of self, which is a really brutal thing to say to a college freshman. At the time, she relayed that back to me, and we were both very indignant. Like, oh, that's a really fucked up thing to say. Yeah. That's not cool. But in the years since, I've come to think of that as a really wise question. It's a little bit like a really more brutal version of wherever you go, there you are. A brand new place gonna be a new beginning and a new version of you, and that's gonna make everything better, or is it just the idea of, no, you're the constant is you're bringing yourself to where you go. But I will expand on this and say that I don't necessarily think it's a question of, okay, you bring yourself to wherever you go and that means you're miserable. If you were miserable to begin with, you continue to be miserable. Because one of the things that I kind of am exploring in this album is I've changed venues, so to speak. I've changed locations. I'm still myself. But the things that happened to me in each of these locations, and then also just like the climate, the atmosphere, the culture of these places, they did have an impact and an impression on me as a person. So I'm not stagnant. When I move to the next location, it's not like I'm just bringing my own miserable self that's been miserable all my life. I was informed by where I was, and now I'm bringing that version of myself to the new place. So it's a little bit of a, it's still me, but I've tweaked myself a little bit, and now I'm going to be here, and this place is going to influence me, and that tweaks me a little bit, and then I go to another place, and it is relevant in terms of the very recent events of my life. First moving upstate from the Hudson Valley, and then very temporarily relocating to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and almost coming straight back after a year. Not to get overly go down the political wormhole, but Trump got reelected, and all of the crazies in the area who were maybe hiding a little bit in the Biden era suddenly were like, okay, he's back. This validates our point of view, and we're gonna go back to being vocally crazy and like aggressively crazy. And it's one thing to experience that in a corner of upstate New York that might be a red county. It's another thing to experience that in the South when you're that close to a very, very scary part for
Yeah.
me, a very scary part of the South. And I mean, it was literally the day after the election. Tim turned to me and goes, "I'm updating my resume, and we're going to get out of here. Let's get to the Northeast." The goal was the Northeast. Got lucky enough to land a job in Jersey, where we're an hour away from family and friends. So that was, that's
So the misery of
kind of
place in this case applies politically as well. It's
yes.
not geographical. It's social and
It's
economic.
social and
Yeah, there you
just
go.
a little fear based again. And as Luke and I were writing this song, we had no idea I was going to be moving to Chattanooga. We had no idea there was going to be a Trump 2.0 era. So we were kind of focusing more on the personal and the internal work that comes from is this misery of place, is this misery of self, and then there's.
So yeah, this is kind of the mission statement for the whole record here. It's the record is called This Place, and I could see that being said with any number of inflections. It could be this place, or it could be this place,
Oh,
this
place.
fucking place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have thought about that phrase a lot in my life since then. It's hard not to have something phrase. It's a brutal thing. It
It's a
was
good phrase, and
emblazoned in my mind, and I've thought about it a lot.
rhythm to it.
Yeah, misery of
It
place.
works in
Misery
a
of
lot of
place.
contexts. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
misery of place puts
exactly.
right
And
in
it's
there.
just,
It's also a
and
good.
I've thought about it a lot, just, in the ensuing 20 plus years. It's just, it hasn't left me. The anecdote hasn't left me. I remember it
Yeah,
so
And now it
clearly.
won't leave me. Thanks a lot.
it won't leave. Yeah,
Yeah.
now you're stuck. It closes out what I guess you would call the first side of the album. Assuming you're going to do
Yeah,
this
this
on
would be
vinyl, this is a good
record.
button for the first half of the record.
Mhm.
You always want to end strong on side A, make people flip that disc over. So what we're going to do now is we're going to flip the disc over. We're going to stop right there, and we will be back with the next episode, picking up on side 2, or second half of CD, or bottom part of your streaming playlist, however you guys consume music.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.